That's right, sponsored by Telcom. Moving with you. Welcome back to Jeff Koinange live here at Citizen Television. On the bench with Third Way Alliance presidential candidate Ekuru Aukot. By the way, you may not have known that this man has traveled the continent quite a bit. He helped Liberia, that's right, which is going through an election right now, a runoff. He helped Liberia write their present constitution. Not only that, he has done extensive work in South Sudan. So he's a man who's been around, not just Kapedo in Turkana, he's been around the continent.
And so that's why I laugh, Jeff, when people say I'm a Tumbocrat. I don't know what Tumbocrat is. I mean, people ought to know that I think I've done some serious work for myself, so I do not need to be bought by anyone. And there's definitely no price in a nomad. Yeah. They should know that nomads are very proud people. Absolutely. And we don't have any...
Listen, Daktari, and I'm glad I mentioned those two countries, which I have covered myself, right? At their worst.
I was in Lesotho too, by the way.
In Lesotho, oh, okay.
I mean, South Sudan.
Right, I said South Sudan, I said Liberia.
Egypt, Tunisia.
Explain the madness of going down that road that a lot of people are itching to go down. Because I've been talking about this, and you know, until the cows have come home and gone back out, and it's still, you know,
let me tell you,
explain.
Political uncertainty can destroy a country and can destroy society. I mean, you and I have been in Liberia. I've lived in Liberia for 2 years as an advisor to the constitutional review process. And I've seen what political bickering and a 14-year-old war caused in that country. It destroyed everything, including people's dignity. You know, and I think this is the path Kenyans are being driven into. And that time it was because Liberia allowed itself to be dominated by sort of an elitist political class. You remember the Samuel Doe and Charles Taylor and others.
And the ones before,
and the Talbots and the Talbot and the rest and the one before. And this is what can happen to a country if we do not liberalize our political thinking, our democracy. That we have fixated that it has to be only a few individuals. And this is the path Kenya seems to be going. That today, even when one political activist decides, I am not interested in participating in a democratic electoral process, we are still forcing them. This is so dangerous for us. Look at Southern Sudan, just neighboring. I've worked in South Sudan too as an advisor to the government of South Sudan, trying to modernize SPLA into a modern Ministry of Defense. You know,
they're on the brink of another civil war.
Absolutely, because then the political contestation there is reduced between either the Dinka and the Nuer, Riek Machar, Salva Kiir right now, and we need to move outside certain names, certain individuals, and this is what we need to do in Kenya today. You know, in Madagascar, they were doing the same thing that we are doing today until they sat down and said, we need a political settlement to our constitutional democratic process. You know what their political settlement was? That we need the Ravano Malalas and the others out of the race. Certain families. They actually singled out certain families and said, these people should not participate in the electoral process in Madagascar. And that's how Madagascar got a new lease of life. So today...
Is that when they elected a DJ?
Exactly, a disc jockey.
Disc jockey, yeah.
Yes, and therefore, Jeff, if today there is a call for political dialogue in this country, I can only participate in that political dialogue if it is, one, about disqualifying Uhuru Kenyatta and Raila Amolo Odinga from the presidency or from political process. If it is about addressing the nurses' strike, the doctors' strike, if it's about addressing food insecurity, if it's about addressing insecurity of the people of Kenya, if it's about addressing infrastructure, if it's about addressing theft of public money, those are the only political dialogues I am ready to participate in, but not political dialogue on how to have free and fair election by us politicians. Let's give IEBC the chance to organize and to finalize on this election, but we should not go into this election, and I must warn Kenyans, we should not go into this election blindly. We must be very watchful and begin to gather evidence. If IEBC makes another mistake again, and I have said this to be, and I'll repeat it here, I will go to the Supreme Court and I will make sure that the election, the outcome of it, if it is based on some irregularities, illegalities, shall be declared invalid again, null and void.
Bob Wowino wants to remind you something here.
Yes.
He says, Ekuru Aukot, the presidential election is won by 50% plus 1.
I agree.
Not 1% plus 50 votes.
I agree. I totally agree. But what makes Babu Owino think that Ekuru Aukot cannot get 50 plus 1? And by the way, I can take advice from any other quarters, but not from such a cantankerous fellow masquerading as an honorable member of parliament. I mean, that I can tell you for free. I wish he could style and get some decorum himself first as a member of parliament before he can advise someone like me.
Maina Kageni, who I'm sure you know.
I know Maina Kageni very well.
Good friend of mine. He should be asleep by now because he has an early morning radio show, but you know, as Maina, he's watching.
Most Kenyans are so nocturnal now because you never know what tomorrow holds.
Maina says, good luck, Aukot. Do you realize that you are beginning an intellectual revolution? How will you arm your smartphone brigade to take the message out? Because uko mashinani ni kubaya.
I do agree. Mimi nimetoka mashinani. I've just come from Taveta, Mwatate, Voi, and parts of Kunda. And there is serious suffering. And I want to tell Maina Kageni that, you know, the digital revolution, whereas they are very good, I mean, I can see the violence, the fighting they undertake. But I want to tell the digital revolution, including Maina Kageni himself, that we have underestimated our influence for the longest time. We, Jeff Koinange, Ekuru Aukot, my good friend Fred Okango, we have underestimated our influence. We think politics is dirty, but we do not know politics affects us directly. Because of politics today, there is uncertainty whether you're able to pay your bills, your mortgage, your insurance, your medical bills. All those issues are affected by politics. So what I will say, that whereas the mashinani, ni kubaya uko mashinani, but I think even we must start ourselves. We are the people who actually run government through the taxes that we pay to the state. You know, so let's not be political illiterates anymore. This politics, governance, affects us. And that's why for me as Ekuru Aukot, I've decided I'm not going to sit back and accept to be lied to by people whose only claim to fame is probably the name they have, or the money they have, or some popularity they have, which for me does not help this country even an inch.
Real quick, if you had 2 phone calls to make, okay?
Yeah.
So the first phone call is to NASA leader Raila Odinga. What would you tell him?
I will tell Raila Amolo Odinga this. And by the way, Raila Amolo Odinga is a man I have tremendous respect for. I know the other time he abused me in Mombasa in a rally, and I say that I will never respond to him because I'm brought up well to respect the elders. So I will not abuse Raila Amolo Odinga, but I will ask him, you are an elder statesman, you have contributed immensely to this country, you can now support Ekuru Aukot, endorse Ekuru Aukot as the next president of the Republic of Kenya, and I can tell you, you'll be living truly to the African customs and traditions where the elderly, after some time, will retreat and allow a certain generation, the warriors, to take over. And if Amolo Raila Odinga supported me today, I can assure you, I will defeat Uhuru Muigai Kenyatta on the 26th of October 2016.
If Baba said Ekuru Tosha.
You know, Baba is a mover. Baba is a shaker. I mean, there is no doubt about that. He has a constituency. He has support. And you know, Baba made Kibaki president when he said Kibaki Tosha. So I have no doubt that if Baba supports me, now that Baba Mkubwa has in a way sort of retired, I think he should look into Baba Mdogo.
Papa Mdogo. Gerald Bitok says Ekuru Aukot makes a lot of sense, but the problem is Kenya is at the point it cannot vote for a good guy yet.
But you know what?
Sadly, though, he wishes you luck.
Thank you very much. And let me tell him this. Please do not wait for another Kenya. We are the Kenya of today that must ensure we have a better Kenya for ourselves and for our children. And by the way, Jeff, and I will repeat this, and I've said this in your show before. At my age right now, I'm 45 years old. I do believe you and I live bonus life. We should be able to do right now the right thing to ensure that our country is better for our children and their children. That, for me, is the only responsibility we have today. The only thing standing between us and life today is death. It can happen anytime. What will you say you actually did to make Kenya better? I mean, our generation must really wake up And let me just remind Kenyans perhaps the words of Franz Fanon that talks that every generation must, out of obscurity, fulfill its mission or destroy it. I believe our mission today in Kenya is to ensure a better Kenya for our children and their children. The people, the protagonists we are fighting with are very comfortable. And I want to believe in the words of Chairman Wafula Chebukati, who said that the biggest political, the political class that have got the highest position in this country could easily fly their families out of this country within a short time. The majority of us cannot do that. Yeah. So what is in the best interest of this country is for us to be able to make sure that we have got a better Kenya for all of us.
Okay, your second phone call to President Uhuru Kenyatta.
My second phone call to President Uhuru Kenyatta will be this: remain the incumbent president. Do not be inflammatory in your utterances. I will also tell President Uhuru Kenyatta, do not sign those amendment laws. Those amendment laws portray you in bad light. First of all, they were crafted by your own political party members. They are laws that almost are made in persona. It's about him. I will tell President Uhuru Kenyatta, we tone down the rhetoric, be a statesman. You have got a chance to unite this country even before the next general election. And I will tell President Uhuru Kenyatta also one thing, that the insecurity in this country is under threat. We can already see that IEBC is not able to recruit or to take its staff in some parts of this country. I will tell President Uhuru Kenyatta, and this is my unsolicited legal advice to him, move Parliament immediately. Seek permission of Parliament to allow you to deploy KDF, the Kenya Defense Forces, to every part of this country so that Kenyans can feel secure. Right now, there is serious insecurity threats in this country, especially as we go into this election. It is the honorable thing to do.
But is that legal?
It's within the Constitution. It's chapter 14 of the Kenya Constitution of national security.
But it's not like martial law or anything.
No, it's not martial law. It's basically recognizing the need for ensuring Kenyans are secure. Right now, a lot of Kenyans are feeling insecure. I mean, there are tribes. I mean, people may want to be politically correct, but I know there are tribes that are already moving from some parts of this country into what they consider to be their comfort zones. And I think this is because people want to see presence of security. And I think for me, if I was President Uhuru today, I will move the National Assembly immediately to have KDF be deployed, especially in what appears to be the trouble spot areas. But I will also tell President Uhuru Kenyatta, you need to talk to Boynet and the police officers. Stop using violence on demonstrators. And I would have also said to Raila Amolo Odinga, it's perfect for you to call your supporters to demonstrate, but please tell them to demonstrate peaceably. Those are the words in Article 37 of the Kenya Constitution. And that way you do not provoke the police to use excessive force. Because so far, we've lost lives of innocent Kenyans who are demonstrating in support of either NASA or support against Jubilee. As leaders, we should be able to ask ourselves the question, is it worth to lose a life because of me? I would rather not. We must be able to balance the interests of the country, the people, and ourselves as politicians, as leaders. So I think we need to agree that Kenya must really move forward.
Dennis Itumbi.
Oh, from the presidential
digital delivery unit.
Let's see what else.
So he says, ask Ekuru, after the race, would you take a job from the winning candidate if you lose? There's a second part to this, so that's the first part. Would you take a job from the winning candidate if you lose?
Well, I don't necessarily need to take a job from the winning. Why would I need to do that? But I mean, there are many times when I've been called to serve my country. I don't think that's really a question for me to speculate right now. What makes him think that I will not win?
Well, here's the other part.
Yes.
If you win,
Yes.
would you hire any of your competitors?
Oh yeah, you know, I'm a student of I'm sure you've read Team of Rivals.
Indeed.
And in Team of Rivals,
Yes.
I think that's where our country is headed to.
Yeah.
To be honest, one of the things that I've contemplated as a presidential candidate is, if I win, do I throw away the manifestos of my competitors? Or also, do I engage my competitors on what is in the best interest of this country? I think that's probably what is in the best interest of this country. That people with good ideas, that if you have ideas from the various manifestos or plans and programs of various competitors, perhaps if we can collapse them to be able to achieve the end game of giving Kenyans a better country, that for me is where I want to go. But listen, we will cross that bridge when we reach.
Okay, Itumbi also wants to know, would you hire him as your government spokesperson?
Oh, let me disappoint it to me and say I will never hire it.
Oh, snap!
I will not hire it.
Why not?
I think I have my own reservations about the way Itumbi has conducted himself. I'm even surprised actually he's engaging me. But, you know, again, on a light touch,
yes,
I'll tell Itumbi this. You know, come for the interview and pass the interview. If he wants to be given an opportunity to be interviewed in my Ekuru Aukot administration, I mean, we will be open to receive all applications.
Yeah, but you just said you wouldn't hire him first. Now you're dithering.
On a light note.
He's also asking for me.
Oh,
he says,
come on.
Would you hire
Do you have
me?
instructions from?
No, he's saying, would you hire Jeff as your CS of information?
If I have to advertise for that position, Jeff, and if you meet the terms of references, capabilities and competencies, I will definitely want to consider you for an interview, but I wouldn't say that.
Yeah, that's a flat no, I can see that. Monica, should we do some tweets?
Yes, sure.
Okay, let's do some tweets and then we'll get some final thoughts with Mashujaa Day 2 days away.
Absolutely.
We need your
and
thoughts
we'll
on
be
that.
there.
Good. Are you going to the national prayer this weekend? There's a national prayer, I think, in Nakuru or something.
I haven't been invited. I don't even know the logistics of it, but
okay,
we will see.
All right.
I think Kenya needs serious prayers.
We do, no doubt. Monica? Sebastian Gilani, he says, Aukot should join fellow Kenyans in advocating for electoral reforms before going into anything close to an election. You were part of the COE. I mean, you crafted the Constitution, didn't you?
I did, yes. And what's the issue there?
He says you should be part of electoral reforms. You know, this is where you should concentrate your strengths.
You know, from what I'm seeing, Jeff, what seems to be defined as electoral reform is about assuaging the egos of individuals. That I have a problem with. And that's why I'm saying, I saw IEBC had already published in the newspapers the corrections they have done on the irregularities. What I will challenge Kenyans to do, especially those who are capable, can we go through those explanations from IEBC? If we are happy or we are dissatisfied, then let's engage IEBC again. That's why for me, for example, tomorrow, I'm going to raise some concerns that I have. For example, the idea or the rumor out there that the Kim's kit is only configured for 2 candidates, Uhuru Kenyatta and Raila Amolo Odinga. I will want a definite answer on that. I will also be pushing for IEBC to speak to Kenyans publicly and to be aired live that these are the irregularities, this is what was said was wrong with it, this is the mitigating factor we have put in place. I would like to see IEBC come out clean on those issues.
Next tweet, Monica. Tribe all. Aukot is doing his level best to rescue Kenya from power holders who pay no attention to their people but securing their positions of power.
I couldn't agree no more.
Aquinas Munene. Aukot says the country is in such a mess because of the elections. Why be party to a mess then?
No, I said the country is in such a mess because of political bickering. of individuals who have a false sense of entitlement. And they do not want, for example, to satisfy themselves of the preparations that have been done by IBC. I also say that the political class has reduced itself into an electoral court. They are not. The Supreme Court is the electoral court. And therefore, and listen, Jeff, this is the contradiction. We got an order from the Supreme Court that said IEBC should prepare the next election within 60 days.
Yeah.
Okay? Within 60 days. So nobody else can prepare the next election but IEBC. And it must be done within 60 days.
Correct.
So if we don't do it on the 26th or at the very latest 31st of October, then we'll be going outside the constitutional threshold. Would we also be respecting our constitution? That is the question I'm talking about. Because of this election, which is really about the political class saying, oh, I must participate or I must not participate, that's why the country is in such a mess.
Okay.
Yeah.
Monica. Karaoke Georges, you say he is a good option, but for generations to come, the two major horses are too strong for him right now. You disagree?
I totally disagree, because I would like Georges to consider this. The uncertainty that he goes through right now as a Kenyan, the problems that we are facing as a country, the state of the economy, the insecurity, food insecurity, and all those things is because of the two horses. Remember, and let me remind Georges this, the current situation at IEBC was actually brokered by the two horses he's talking about, Raila and Odinga. They are the ones who crafted some sort of amendments to the electoral law, which were rubber stamped by Parliament, which is why we are in the state of Kenya today. So what I will urge Georges to do, instead of seeing those same people, instead of being fixated to those same people, move outside those boxes. Come out on the 26th of October in large numbers and teach those people a lesson and retire them. That way we will have a changed Kenya. Can you possibly imagine Kenya with the son of a nomad's president?
No.
You cannot imagine?
Well.
So you can only imagine Kenya with Amudhamaki?
No, not at all. And don't throw this back at me.
No, I'm asking you, Jeff, you're Kenyan too.
I can't see a son of a camel herder. Is it herder or what? Camel?
By the way, did you know, Jeff, that even symbolically, let's talk about horses and camels, okay? Did you know that, for me, this is the analogy I want to throw out there, that if Kenya must change, we do not need first aid. We need a long-term surgery. And therefore, the horse, which runs at 40 kilometers an hour for only 80 minutes, cannot be compared to a camel that runs for 65 kilometers an hour for 18 hours. So if we must really fix the problems of Kenya, we do not need a sprinter. We need a marathoner. And that's why the camel is on the race.
But camel runs kind of funny, don't you think?
Still faster, resilient. Because Kenya has been in the jungle of, bad governance, the desert of bad governance for the longest time. We need a vehicle that can take us to an oasis of good governance.
Any more tweets? Monica? Kennedy Kiplagat. Ekuru Aukot deserves to be Kenyan president. We are tired of Odinga and Kenyatta's regimes. Ekuru represents change.
Absolutely. I couldn't agree anymore.
Halima Ismail. I'm surprised he is a candidate. He should be worried that the elections will not be credible.
How do we measure credibility even before we do it?
Murigi Kahuha, you say, I guess if this man wins, Kenya will be okay. We should vote for him and save our nation.
Kudos.
SMS. This is from Davies from Mombasa. Can this country move forward if it's not united?
But who is to unite Kenya? Because the protagonists that we are fixated on are tribalists. Their bases are tribal. So, and the way they have choreographed the leadership is such that you me against you. It's either me or you. And for the longest time, so these people cannot unite. So if there is anybody who can unite Kenya today, is a totally different voice. And I think you are seeing, you're staring at one here right now.
Ahmed Mohammed from Eastleigh, he says he asked Ekuru Aukot why some of his closest lieutenants are jumping ship. Do they feel shortchanged? I
am not aware. I'm only aware of one who has expressed dissatisfaction in the manner in which we are addressing our position towards the election. And I think this is just a question of that will require dialogue within the team. I'm not aware of anybody else. People have expressed concern that we shouldn't participate in this election. We discussed this at plenary at Third Way Alliance Kenya, and the majority position was that we must participate in this election, and we weighed what the country is going through against our own personal interests as members of Third Way Alliance.
Yeah. Look,
and in any case, Jeff, I will say this to you. I don't think it's not surprising that people disagree within a party. Even at home or even as siblings, we have disagreements where we all different views.
Yeah.
That is perfectly democratic, and for me, I'm willing to meet my team and understand what is their points of disagreement or misgiving, and hopefully we will, strike a balance.
Mashujaa Day is 2 days' time.
Right.
If our founding fathers, who on October 20th, this was it's a profound day. It's about heroes. Our founding fathers, if they were to look at this country right now, what would they think?
They'll probably be crying in their graves. What I would like to see, the image I would like to see of Mashujaa Day is where all of us who are fighting to be leaders of this Kenya, who are antagonizing each other, is if we attended that day on that day. I wish I could see Raila Odinga seated next to Uhuru Kenyatta, Abdul Badida, Kaluyu, Professor Wainaina, Cyrus Jirongo, Joe Nyaga, Ekuru Aukot, and all other leaders. And I wish I could see all the 67 political parties of this Kenya converge whatever venue that will be chosen. I think symbolically that is very powerful, because Mashujaa Day is not about politics. It's not about our various competition. It's actually about the country we call Kenya. It's about those heroes who sacrificed their lives. I mean, I think people like Dedan Kimathi, for example, the Mekatilili Wamenzas, the Mau Mau freedom fighters, people think of people like J.M. Karaoke, the Pio Gama Pinto, Tomboy and the rest. Those people planted a seed which we are reaping today as a country. So for me, people like, granted, Jomo Kenyatta's and others, as the founding fathers of Jaramogi Oginga Odinga, Achenga Neko, and others. These are people really who, during that time, epitomized a nation state, epitomized oneness, which unfortunately today we are dismantling.
Yeah.
And I think for me that's why we at Third Way Alliance have said that there were at least two liberations in this country. The first one was the independence liberation, which I think unfortunately was betrayed as soon as people entrenched power. Then there was the second liberation brought about by people like Raila Amolo Odinga, which is why I have tremendous respect for the man. James Orengo, Koigo Amwere, and many, many others. Timothy Njoya, living legends who are still here. They opened up the democratic space for our country today.
Yeah.
But I also feel those people, at least those who went into government, the moment they went into government, they started playing the same politics of the first generation, which is why today we are saying at Third Way Alliance, Kenya needs a third liberation.
Yeah.
A third way.
But you're a little too idealistic if you ask me.
Why?
Because, you think we could all hold hands and sing Kumbaya, like everything's going to be fine.
The hallmark of any leadership is to step up at a time of crisis, at a time of uncertainty. And Kenya right now is going through a level of uncertainty. This is when true leaders emerge. True leaders don't emerge when it's convenient to them. I may disagree. I disagree with President Uhuru Kenyatta. I have never liked his policies for the last 5 years. I disagree with Amolo Odinga, which is why I've said none of them is a better option for this country. But when it comes to Kenya, I want us to talk about Kenya, which is why our party has maintained, and I have maintained this, sometimes a position that is unpopular with some of members of my party, as you've heard, that how can we put Kenya first and be able to move this country forward?
Okay. My director, Monica, says it's time to wind up, so I'm going to be fair to you and tell you to look at that camera there, the big one there, number 3.
Yes.
And you're going to address Kenyans. You have about a minute and change. Your final thoughts.
My fellow Kenyans, our country is facing challenges, a state of uncertainty, but there is nobody else who can change this country other than ourselves. There has been a lot of political bickering in this country for the longest time, predicated upon a few individuals. I think the time for us to step up as a people is now. I have lived in this country, born in this country, lived in this country for the last 45 years. Kenya has given me the opportunity that I enjoy today. So much so that this son of a nomad is standing before you and saying, I want to be your next commander-in-chief. Kenya is the only country we have in the world. We cannot afford to destroy it. I would like to remind Kenyans of neighboring countries that are going through turmoil, whose citizens are seeking refuge in our country, whose economies have been disrupted. Think about Somalia, think about Libya, think about South Sudan, Central African Republic, Burundi, DRC, and many other countries. We do not want to be in that state. We are blessed, we have a beautiful country with resources, with human resources, and educated people. We can do better. We can change Kenya for ourselves, for our children and their children. The responsibility is ours in equal measure. And I want to ask you lastly, turn out in large numbers on the 26th October. Cast your vote for change, because in that ballot, there'll be an item called negative ethnicity. In that ballot, there'll be corruption. In that ballot, there'll be unity of us Kenyans. But above all, we must keep peace, because we cannot afford disunity right now. Kenya is hurting. The responsibility is yours to accept to be dissuaded or persuaded by a selfish political class. You have the chance on the 26th of October to make change. Thank you very much, and God bless Kenya.
Ekuru Aukot, thanks so much. Son of a nomad.
I appreciate it, Jeff.
From Kapedo.
And thanks for having me on the show after such a long time.
You were supposed to be here last week. You refused to come.
I did not refuse. Mambo ilikuwa ni kisege mnege.
Kisege mnege?
No, sege mnege.
Ekuru Aukot there, folks. Elections barely a week away. And like Ekuru says, at the end of the day, it's all about peace. It's all about us coexisting. And all that war talk that's going on out there, folks, you don't want to go down that road. Ekuru has seen it for himself in Liberia, South Sudan, and other countries.
Sierra Leone too.
And Sierra Leone. Yeah. I have seen it. Many people have seen it. You go down that road, there is just no coming back. Thanks so much for being a part of JKL. Remember, every Wednesday, it's all about those 3 letters on the keyboard that follow each other, namely JKL. JKL sponsored by Telkom. Telkom, moving with you tomorrow morning on Hot 96 with Jeff and Jalas. Please join us from 6 to 10 a.m. You've been on that show, haven't you?
I've been, and it's a very hot show.
Smoking.
Very smoking.
We have something called A Story a Day, which has really grown in leaps and bounds. Tomorrow, we have our first guest from the outside. It's not going to be Jalas or myself telling the story. It's going to be Patrick Igunza, Citizen Television's hotshot reporter. He's going to be telling us his story. Nanaskia ametoka mbali. Thanks so much for being a part of JKL. Good night. Good luck. God bless Kenya, and happy Mashujaa Day. Happy Mashujaa Day.
Thanks, Jeff.
Well done.
Thank you very much. I hope I have your vote.